Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Let's get started now. What's going on, guys? Hey, this is going to be a very interesting topic today. Very interesting topic. I'm going to give it a few minutes to let people come on in. Hold on 1 second. We're about to do this, guys. Reed is about to enlighten you on something that no one ever has spoken about before. Hey, let me turn the music off. It's time to get busy. Time to get busy. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to change your lives too much, you know? I don't want to red pill you all at one time. Wouldn't be fair. It'd be too much a shock for you. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe that you live in a Truman Show but I'm going to try to help you understand that you do. And the sooner you begin to understand that you live in a Truman Show, the better you can begin to protect yourself and your families, because they're coming for your children. This series is on narcissism as a network. Remember, I did a series on narcissistic Black family cults. And I'm from the South Side of Chicago. And in my opinion, the reason why there's a historically high murder rate on the South Side of Chicago, and you don't see this anywhere else. You don't see historical high murder rates anywhere else besides having clusters of narcissistic Black family cults in your neighborhood. We talked about drugs. We talked about crime. But man, we never thought about cults. Man, and now cults have taken over the South Side of Chicago. Narcissistic Black family cults. Man, guys, this is bad. When I tell you what these people are doing, and it's been like this since the beginning of time. Look, narcissists are very low energy people. They cannot produce their own energy. They cannot produce their own energy. Let me see here. Let me show you why. Pull this consciousness map up again, and I just pulled this up on YouTube. You know, I didn't create it, but it is an excellent tool to help describe exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see here. So let's see right here. So this is a consciousness map I was just talking about. Here, this is the high energy level, and here is the low energy. This is where all the sickness is at, and this is where all the narcs, they're locked into these frequency. They can't get out of this reality. They're locked in that reality. That's why they always have their masters that drawing you into their reality and not you into they're into yours, right? They draw you into their reality, not their to yours. And so what I'm beginning to understand is They have to capture these people. They have to trap them. And that's why they trap you in marriage. They trap you in guilt. They trap you in obligation. They trap you by trauma. They trap you by disease in you. They trap you in legal problems. They do whatever they can to keep you there in order to destroy as much as they can in your lives. Right? Why? Because they can't access. This is a bonanza for the sick. For the sick narc, capturing you in your peace is a bonanza for them because they can feed off of you forever, basically. They can siphon your energy forever. Now, when, let's look now, remember when we were talking about the issue with Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk, and it seems that she likely pulled off what appears to be a public execution of hubby. And then we said, well, why did he have to die? Well, the answer to that is that he had to die because he was the sacrificial lamb. In fact, I would say his energy level was so high here and everything that someone, Delilah or Erica, his wife, or Erica, the handler that was assigned to him, is definitely down here. She couldn't access any of those things. So she accessed everything he had through her title as widow. So she accessed everything he had through her title as widow. So that made her CEO and chairman of his corporation. Right? Okay. Now, this infighting that happens within the family when you are married to a narcissist, or your parents are one or both of your parents are narcissists, or your siblings are narcissists, you are in essentially the same situation. They are doing everything they can to undermine you, to describe you as crazy, to paint who you are to the people around you. They do everything they can in order to continue to siphon your energy and keep you down here in the low energy levels. This is what all that is for. That's why they never see your perspective. That's why they never endorse your perspective. That's why they never say your opinions. That's why they never consider your opinions. That's why they never do anything for you. When you ask them to do things, they fake like they're doing it for you. But if you look overall, you're not getting any benefit. It seems like they're amazing. They're trying to pretend that they're giving benefit on one hand, but still charge you an increasing cost on the other. See, these people are sick, and I suggest you be very careful with them. So this energy deficiency between the haves and the have-nots, the saints and the sinners, the good and the bad, yin and yang, the difference between these two is astronomical. And so what happens is that the bottom, these demon feeders, have always been attacking us with empathy and high energy. And we never really, until the internet and until social media, we never really understood the extent at which everyone down here at the bottom is working cooperatively with everyone to target people here at the top. And so this is to give you an example of what I'm saying. We see narcissistic parents, particularly narcissistic mothers, who intentionally damage their children's psychological well-being and functioning and continue to destabilize them to set them up only for a relationship with another narcissist. And if anyone comes into that person's life that will break that spell or decrease the control that this sick narcissistic mother have on this child, they will shoo them away immediately. I mean, they will go after them with all the fury of God, because there's no way a narcissistic mother is going to let anyone who would have a good influence on that child near them at all. However, they give preferential access to narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. While that same sick, narcissistic, filthy, disgusting mother is blocking people who would help her daughter, she's also giving privacy and access to the same different psychopathic men who would harm her. And that selective filtering of harm makes it such that the victim is harmed in the shadow around everyone who cannot see the harm at all. So it's a tactic that allows a narcissistic parent to unalive or target a narcissistic child within the household and subject them to torment, torture, psychological, emotional, sexual abuse around everyone, and no one would even know about it. You understand what I'm saying? Because mom blocks access to healthy people, but gives preferential access to sick people, and all the sick people at the bottom, and they haven't seen a thing because they're all participating in the exploitation of their child. That is the aunt, that's the uncle, that's the cousin, that's the next door neighbor, that's the therapist, that's the doctor. All of them are in on it. All of these people are at the bottom, are in on it, right? That's why Jesus said, you are either for me or against me. And the kingdom, Satan's kingdom, has existed for always. And so his team is not divided. They are all on one accord. So that narc mother of yours, she is trying to harm you just as much as your worst enemy is. The only difference is that she's looking over you at night. Man, it's cold. And so I was looking, so I'm from the south side of Chicago, and I was looking at some interesting, doing some interesting statistics, interesting reading, okay? List. Okay, list the murder rate in Chicago from 1900 to 2026. I'm gonna look at 126 years of data. Let me see if they can give me that. Ooh. Okay. Oh. Okay, here, look, in 1900, 6 per 100,000 residents. Wow. Wow. In 1910, 9.2 per 100,000 residents, Chicago. And then the 20s, 10 per 100,000. Then the 30s, 14. 74, look, the crack epidemic. In 74, yeah, this is when they started the crack epidemic. 74, 29, and then 34. So yeah, look how significant it's going, jumped up here from the 30s to the 40s. So look, it went from 600 in 1930s to 74, 900 deaths a year. And so look at this rate. Look at the number of murders that's happening every year. Okay. Let me okay, here, list the murder rate of African American men from the years 1900 to 2026. Okay, here. Let me see if I can find this. Okay. Okay. So it's not presented the way I thought it would. So let me go back to here. This is fine here. Okay. Now, so this is, so look at this, the number of homicides each year that's happening on the south side of Chicago. Now, these are murders, right? And these murders are happening at the highest frequency side by other black men. So when you look at who's actually being murdered, if you look at the characteristics of the murders, like shootings, then there's a certain pattern. A lot of these are shootings where the victim is sitting in a car and then somebody sneak up on them and shoot them while they're in the car, right? Now, this is a type of execution, and these are the type of behaviors that narcissists typically have, right? So what I'm saying is here, let's see, here, down here at the bottom, see, down here at the bottom here, these people act only on action and reaction. It's action e reaction. There's no thought. So it's action, reaction. So there's thought. It's all instinct, right? And so because it's all instinct, it's impossible for these people to engage in a fight that contains any rules or reasoning, right? See, and what happens is when people with high energy levels like this is a completely different reality, right? They simply don't understand what's going on in this deeper, darker, denser reality where there's hate and guilt and all that stuff. They have no idea what's going on down there. But what's down here is action, reaction without much thought at all. Now, here at the top here, when you have peace and joy, these people have done something different. They've obtained adulthood. So they've attained manhoodship. They can obtain womanhoodship. They become full integrated beings. So their thought process is completely different. They have thought between action and reaction. So remember, down here at the bottom, action, reaction, that's instinct. That's survival of the fittest. Up here is action, thought, reaction. Action, thought, reaction. So there's a thought between an action and reaction for the people here with the highest frequency. So this is a completely different reality. See, when you see or hear the stories about the drive-by shootings on the south side of Chicago, and you see the scene, the person is driving and does not understand or have any awareness that their lives are in danger, right? In fact, this high energy state sort of serves as a cocoon in your own world. And it makes it very difficult for you to look outside your peace, out externally, to see some type of looming threat. And so the very high number of carjackings or people who are waiting in the bushes, jumping out and shooting somebody in the back of the head, or just unfair fights, the high propensity of those suggests to me that the entire area is inundated with narcissistic black family cults, and that there are systems of narcissists, psychopaths and sociopaths who will unalive you for any type of conflict that you have. And the methodology of doing that is basically to sneak up on you and to shoot you in the back of the head. So what does this mean? And look at how much damage that this is doing. Look how much damage this is doing. Look, so now the numbers is historically high, but look at in 2021, 805 people lost their lives to being murdered. That's 805 people. And then the next year, 719. It's been very difficult for law enforcement to impact the problem that is basically at its core a spiritual problem. I mean, do you think law enforcement would have to add a cult division in Chicago to look at the family systems to see what's actually creating the condition that leads to these huge number of narcissistic family cults clustered in areas without any type of supervision. And remember, just like with Erica it seemed as if she needed to sacrifice Charlie. And I'm thinking this, if you live on the south side of Chicago and you have love in your heart, you have empathy in your heart, you better be careful, because that narcissist in your family is ultimately going to come after you. And they're going to ultimately turn you into what's called the black sheep. When you become the black sheep, meaning no contact from all of them, that's when you win the game. When you become no contact, that's when you exert your full autonomy. When you go no contact, that's when you say no and you prevent them from doing any other harm to you. But now, when you go no contact, they're going to build a whole nother lie on the other side of the world. The whole side of the story. They're going to tell everybody, oh, we didn't want them to come around. Oh, we don't let them come around. Oh, nothing. We kicked them out the family. Oh, this and that. Oh, they got schizophrenia. Oh, they crazy. When you leave their narcissistic black family cult on the south side of Chicago, you better beware that that narcissistic brother of yours is going to go to your family reunion. I mean, everywhere, to your childhood. I mean, that sick family cult system on the south side of Chicago is going to come after you, boy. And I tell you, you better have your balls ready. You better be holding your balls and ready to stand up for yourself. I would say, don't back down no matter what. The best thing you can do is let people who understand how these sick people work know. You need to build your squad. You can't fight these people alone. I say that these are sacrifices. I say that these are 500, 700, 877 Charlie Kirks. Imagine, I believe there's only selectively people being murdered on the south side of Chicago, and those are predominantly people of empathy who don't even know they're in a fight at all. So if you have a son or a daughter on the south side of Chicago with empathy, I think you better be careful. I think you better be looking at that narcissistic friend. These people help make adolescents, children, these sick people make children and adolescents really believe that they have their best interests at heart. But you know how these sick narcissists do. When they come behind your back, they stab your child in the back. You know that. In my opinion, the majority of the people who are being murdered on the south side of Chicago are people who had empathy, and they're being murdered by these narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. I say, hey, if you have any empathy, you should get off the south side. All of them are in it together, bro. Let me tell you. And let me tell you, they all in it together, man. Everybody here at the bottom. And look, there is no way in 2025, 719 people should be getting murdered. There's no way that should happen, right? There's no way. And how do you stop this? See, what happens is that these narcissistic family cults, what they do is they cut down, they have to do what narcissists always do. They shut down your communication with people. So if they want to target you, then they're going to create a conflict between you and the person. And they're going to likely say something like they don't like you or this one, and they're going to say to each other, try to get you to fight and mistrustful each other. That's the first thing they're going to do, so you don't communicate. So what thing the narcissist family, so narcissists always interfere with the communication between each other, or they try to filter the communication. They only want you to say their side of a story or propagate their side of a story in a situation. So they want you to participate only on their side, their narrative, to give a one-way narrative to sort of to project their reality over everyone else, sort of try to force everyone to believe their reality, like what Israel and Trump is doing now, trying to force everyone to believe, gaslight everybody, and it'll be interesting to see if they're powerful enough to do that. if they're powerful enough to actually gaslight all of us and force us into the Truman Show. I mean, this is Truman Show by force. This is involuntary Truman Show. If they are able to hide all of these things and get away from all of these things and say, no, that didn't happen, this happened, we are definitely in a Truman Show. If you are a mother, okay, so what happens on the individual level, the narc interferes with the communication between you and the individual people around you, right? Now, at the community level, the narcissistic family interferes between the communication between each other people in the community and with law enforcement. So the overall mantra in these neighborhoods is no snitching. Yeah, or snitches get stitches, meaning they're going to retaliate against you in this community if you say anything about what just happened. And that is so unfortunate, because even in situations in families where someone is using violence, or one family member is threatening another family member with violence, even if they do end the person's life, there's nothing that the other family members can do but to remain quiet. It's sort of the same thing that happened in my family. The young idiot began carrying a gun at a young age and started getting in problems with threatening people with the gun. But he was the only one who would sneak up and shoot you in the back. He was known for things like that. And so violence. And so he was able to sort of steer a whole sick family and basically destroyed everybody's lives in that family system. I walk away from that family system 26 years ago, and I think almost everybody's dead, or they're all sick, very disturbing people, So when that in the family system, see, that narcissistic family system starts to threaten other people in the community, and they force a no snitching rule, and that prevents anyone from saying anything. And so, in essence, these areas become regions of narcissistically controlled regions, or narcissistically controlled areas. And in these areas, like in all situations that narcissists control, situations or territories or communities that narcissists control, they always suspend you of your rights. And these become black spaces where if you're harmed within these spaces, no one's going to come to you for your defense. That's why in this situation, 80% of the murders on the south side of Chicago go unsolved. 80%. I would say that these are human sacrifices, and that if you have a young boy on the south side of Chicago, I bet you should get him away from that sick friend of his. You should have direct intervention to make sure that sickness isn't getting into that boy's mouth. Now, if you have a child and you're married to a narcissist and a narcissistic family and everything, that is the awful situation. You're going to have to be very careful with that. Very careful with that, because they'll unalive you, and everybody, including the child, will lie on you, because the child is too intimidated to say anything else other than what that coach would like them to say. If you're dealing with parental alienation, hey, you are dealing with a cult system. It's a cult that took your child, basically. It's a cult that brainwashed your child and told them that you basically the devil, right? And unfortunately, there's nothing that you can do about it. You're going to have to sacrifice that decade, right? So if they're 10, then you're going to have to just go no contact with them, absolutely nothing, to see about reestablishing at 21, right? And then they would have had enough torture from the narcissist to understand that you were the reasonable one. But if you try to stay there and try to convince them, then they're going to keep projecting on you, and you're just going to make it worse. So like I said, as narcissists, they can't go after their own children, set their children up for death. And so look at all of this stuff. When I see numbers like this, I see family cooperating, right? You can see, I remember the family system I came from, the narcissists were always in communications with the narcissists around me outside of my awareness, giving them things that I was attached to and giving them a list of helping them understand how to target me. It was amazing to look back and see the extent that they went to communicate around me. And so every new environment I went into, they made sure that they made friends with one of them, someone else, and then started rumors up about me. It was amazing to look back and see how sick these people operated, and for what at all? To have control, right? So you have to be very careful of these narcissistic black family cults. If you're on the south side of Chicago, and I suggest that if you live next to these people, I suggest you record everything. I suggest you do background checks. Yep, I guess you do background checks. I think just like they'll investigate you, I think you need to know where they live, where they work, who, everything. I mean, do not approach them, do not do anything directly to them. But if you are in contact with one of these narcissistic black family coach, you're going to have to, make sure you do the necessary things to protect yourself. And I would say make sure you constantly gather information about what's going on. Keep track of every information, but don't approach them or anything like that. Okay? And so I hope this is helpful for you, right? At some point, I think as a community, black men are going to have to decide what to do with these sick narcissists. At some point on the south side of Chicago, there's going to have to be a civil war and deal with the narcissistic men who are killing men with empathy on the south side of Chicago. Hey, it's 2026, and I think with AI and the new healthcare system we're building, I think we're going to give that a lot of attention. So it's very important that you understand that we're about to address the point where these narcissistic black men in the community and the abuse that they've been given to men and women. I think at some point, I think we're ready as a community to start dealing with it. And the abuse by sick narcissists on the south side of Chicago is something that law enforcement can't deal with. The educational system can't deal with this. This is going to have to be done at an individual level. I think at some point we're going to ask other healthy people like you to join me, and we're going to start finding ways to address this issue. I think that we can come up with some solutions for it. Me and my team, we're thinking about coming up with the first national narcissist list, right? Yeah, clinical diagnosed narcissist, right? And come up with a public list so that you can reference these people. So we're working on things like that. We have to find some way for you to identify these sick people in the community. And you have to find some way to be able to call law enforcement and get into court right away. I hope this is helpful for you guys. If so, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share. Take care, guys. The Civil War in Black America. It's time for the black man to go after the black man. Boy, it's time for the righteous man, the righteous black man, to go after the narcissistic black man. The narcissistic black man have run these communities too long. It's time to put them down, boy. It's time to show them, put them up. No violence. It's time to deal with this. Take care, guys.